Please pray with me. Spirit of Advent, Spirit that's beginning a new thing, Spirit that's moving to bring hope and to bring peace. Minister to us, your people. Comfort us, encourage us, challenge us in these moments of reflection. May only truth be spoken. May only truth be heard, we ask. Amen. Well, I've got some more good news for you today. That's what coming to church and the Christian tradition is all about, getting excited about some good news. And the good news I want to share with you today is that amidst all the pain and all the confusion in this world today, there is a power, a higher power, an inner power, a lower power, a power that is everywhere, in everything, a power and a mystery in the universe that is in the business of creating harmony out of chaos, an inexorable, unstoppable power that is persistent in pursuing a pathway of peace. We see it in the very fabric of the universe. As science discovers our origins, we see this mystery. We see this unfathomable mystery that's beyond imagination. We see that a universe created out of random chaos in a big bang 13 billion years ago has evolved to a place where there's galaxies upon galaxies, and in our solar system, we've got beautiful planet Earth. I mean, if that doesn't just boggle the imagination, how that out of sheer, chaotic, random explosion, all that we hold dear and enjoy on planet Earth has come to us. How blessed are we? We've also discovered more recently that in every galaxy of the universe, there are black holes in the center of it that create a balance between the first explosion, which would make everything just fling out into dust, and the black holes in every galaxy pull in a bit and keep things so that we can have planets going around suns in a way that can be predicted with accuracy over millions of years. Wow. That's the kind of mystery I'm talking about. And we so often get thinking that because we can't figure something out, something can't happen. Wow, no way. Time and again in human history, the blackest of moments, the most difficult of moments give way to new growth, to new possibilities, to greater justice, to peace based on human rights and not the tyranny of violence. As our text the last time I preached said, this mystery we touch, that we are a part of, that we trust, says, I am doing a new thing. A new thing is always happening. Growth is always happening. The pathway to peace is always under construction. If there is any one characteristic of the Jesus nativity stories, it is the element of surprise. Of stuff happening that's not supposed to happen. Of stuff happening that's beyond what we can imagine happening. And that's pretty exciting. I think that's good news. It's this element of surprise as God does a new thing by continually creating a persistent pathway toward peace. Mary, poor Mary's shocked at the fact that she's pregnant. Joseph, too, shocked that his girlfriend is pregnant. Unplanned pregnancy, out of wedlock, placing them in crisis. And today, in Luke's beautifully crafted story, an old man Zachariah is shocked. He and his wife Elizabeth have wanted a baby all their lives, not just to have a baby's sake, but he wanted a baby that could grow up and really help Israel take back its sovereignty from Rome, and that they could have a society of peace, not based on Rome's tyranny and crosses and whips, but based on fair laws and kindness and respect and the heart of what he knew as the Torah. And so he lost that dream. He's a priest that stopped praying. And as sad as that is, I love this part. He stopped praying, but God didn't stop acting. Are you getting what I'm saying? You might have stopped praying a while ago. You might have stopped believing a while ago. You may lose your hope today, but God hasn't lost hope. God hasn't lost hope in you. God hasn't lost hope in the future. And should I lose my prayer someday, God's just beginning with me. God's not finishing with me. It's not dependent on our faith. Whatever faith we have is God's gift to us. And God never gives up on us. I think that's pretty exciting. And of course, when we talk about peace, we have to realize what kind of peace we're talking about. The peace that Zechariah wanted wasn't the peace that Rome bragged about with the great Pax Romana, the peace of Rome. And it's true, under the peace of Rome, there were fewer wars, fewer protests, but not because people were happy, not because they were getting along, not because the poor were fed, not because there was food and housing for people. No. It's because Rome had the strongest, biggest army in the world. And if anybody said boo, they were struck down. Some of us know a little bit of what that's like, growing up in a home where nobody dared to say boo, because if they said the wrong thing, they were going to be yelled at or beaten or both. That's not peace. Just because a family's quiet doesn't mean there's peace. Not being able to get a place to stay or proper food to eat certainly takes up your attention. Homeless people, people struggling to find a meal. They don't have the energy to protest. They don't have the energy to stand up and say, this is wrong. They're just trying to get through another day. That's not peace. Zechariah and Elizabeth lost hope that they could be a part of bringing to people a real peace. A just peace where everybody has a chance at a decent life. They lost hope years ago when Elizabeth went through menopause. But God did not lose hope in them. And surprise, they are pregnant when they can't be. You know, it's a metaphor, but I love it. I just wonder how many things in our lives we've made up our mind. I mean, good things, true things, things that are wonderful and noble and that really should be. I wonder how many things in our lives we've made up our minds. We're past menopause and nothing good can ever come. Christmas, Advent says, surprise. You may have given up. You may have lost hope, but God hasn't. Every dream that is rooted in love and hope and peace will come true somehow, some way, and mostly in ways we never expect. And often we don't get to see until we read history or get to heaven. When evil stands proud and tall, when might says, I'm right, when pain is all we can see and feel, and the future is a dead end, some angel somewhere is going to appear and say, God has heard you. You may feel it's the end. You may feel like giving up. You may have no hope for the moment. You may have no hope for the future. You may not know it, but you're pregnant. Something is happening. That's what the Bible tells us. That's what history tells us. The foundations of evil that seem so strong, like a big statue, are being hollowed out inside. The iron's turning to sand. And we don't see it. But over time, that sand is just going. And all of a sudden, that big thing we saw was so powerful, so strong, so unable to change, it just falls into a sinkhole. You ever seen a sinkhole? My last church, the parking lot, just opened up in a sinkhole. 2 cars went in it. Fortunately, nobody was in the cars. But when you're looking at something that just seems like it's too powerful, it's too awful, and you'll never get through it, and you'll never know how it's going to work out, you just remember, it's headed for a sinkhole. Because evil has a limited expiry date, but love is forever. So we need that good news because the struggle for hope and peace is a big one. Today is the anniversary of 15 women who were killed and 14 women injured by a young gunman at the engineering college in Montreal 31 years ago. How sad and difficult it is to change a culture where so many men are damaged into believing that their only avenue for justice is to dominate, control, and hurt women. We hear of rising levels of physical abuse and emotional abuse in families who are forced to spend time together because of COVID, and whose attraction and affection for one another has become contempt. But society is not stuck. The pathway is difficult and at times circular, but we do not own women today. Women are persons before the law, and in many countries are closing the gap between what is available to men and what is available to women. Change is inevitable. Many of the parents of the slain women in Montreal, as well as the mother of the shooter, have invested their pain into working for greater justice, into creating a pathway to true peace. As they fight for the elimination of assault rifles, as they put effort into creating support groups for families who are both the victims of violence and families who have had one of their members perpetuate violence. That's one of the great miracles, is when awful things happen, people turn their pain into creating greater help and comfort and peace for others. That's our divinity, so clearly revealed. Divinity so often takes pain and combines it with love to create a world with more hope. That's why evil cannot win. A world of respectful peace between gender identities and gender expressions is the future. I don't know how long it will take, but we're already pregnant, friends. We're already pregnant. We're already well on the way towards that. The dream of peace has already found roots. So I've been thinking this week. Oh, somebody's having a bad moment. That's all right. I've been thinking this week of the divine surprises that I've witnessed and heard about. I heard a story the other day on CBC about a man who was adopted at birth in Toronto, adopted into a good home, loving mom and loving dad, but he always wanted to connect to his birth mother just to find out where he came from and who he was. And some people who are adopted just have that need to do that. And so there was something inside him that just wasn't at peace. And his mother supported that. There was no problem there. And they went through and they got his birth mother's name, but they couldn't find him. And they looked for 15 years. And he was working one day, and he helped a woman out with a whole big order of dog food out to her car. And normally he says to people when he's just chatting, what do you do for a living? And for the first time in his life, for some reason, he said to this woman, do you have any hobbies? And as he said it, he thought, why did I ask that question? And here's what she said. She says, yeah, I have a hobby. She says, my hobby is connecting people who've been adopted to their birth parents. I'm a connector angel. Wow. And so he told his story. And she says, well, I'm going to try and help you. So she tried everything, and they couldn't get anywhere. And she thought to herself, maybe this was, his mom was from England. So she started working her contacts in England, and there was a fellow in England who was an adoption connector angel too. And he started looking into it. And he finally found a photograph of a painting that a family had auctioned off. And the name of the family was the last name of this woman, but there was a daughter in the article with a different last name because she was married. And guess what? It was his birth mom. And so the connector contacted that woman and said, does the date, March the 10th, mean anything to you? And this dear woman from England wrote back and says, yes, that's the date of a son I had to give up for adoption. And they got together and had a wonderful time and stay in touch. And now that fellow has found peace. You see, we just never know how we're going to come to that peace. Here's a great story. This is an Advent story. This is a Zechariah story. I got a buddy, Jamie. He comes to church occasionally at Trinity. He's from Stratford. And he's a third-generation farmer. And about 10 years ago, he got the official plan for Stratford and looked at it, and he saw that his farm was an area that Stratford had on the list of probable and possible expropriation. And that really bothered him because the agricultural land on that side of Stratford is among the most fertile in the world. So, just as an environmentalist, why would we turn our most fertile land into something that's going to have asphalt and buildings on it? And then he caught wind, as some of the properties around him were being bought up, that Stratford was looking with the provincial government at having a gas plant come. And he was beside himself, and I said to him, Jamie, I said, you got to do something about it. He says, yeah, but what can I do against the provincial and the local government? I said, Jamie, it's not about winning. It's about doing what you can do so that whatever happens, you'll be at peace. And so he hired the former city planner of Guelph to look into it. And the former city planner found out that the province and Stratford were doing a deal behind the scenes that would avoid most of the planning process and the public hearings. So then out of his own pocket, he hired a lawyer, and he put in an appeal. And so he's like John the Baptist, who's saying, we got to do something, not knowing how it can happen. And guess who got some attention? Guess who, because of what Jamie did, woke up to the reality of what was happening? A woman you might have heard of by the name of Loreena McKenna, one of the top musicians in the world. And so she's now leading the charge against what's happening behind the doors so that there can be public hearings. In fact, I just saw a video she did in front of City Hall. Beautiful, talking about hope and talking about trust and all these issues. And there's like 24,000 views. So Stratford doesn't know what it's in for yet. But I said, Jamie, you were preparing the way for the star Jesus, Loreena McKenna, to come along. And so who knows what's going to happen? But I know one thing, whatever does happen, even if Jamie has to sell his farm, he can sell his farm feeling at peace because he did what he could do and left the rest to the universe. God's not finished with us yet. And God's not finished with this world. How about the surprise that when vaccinations normally take 4 years to come to conclusion, and in many of the times they can't make vaccines work at all, we've got a vaccine that's ready to go in 9 months. There's something exciting. There's something that's unusual. There's a pregnancy out of season. We give thanks for that, and we look forward to the peace that will come to us as that vaccine gets rolled out. Then I think of just the simple ways that peace comes to us in our worst moments. You know, there's nothing like cuddling up with your cat or your dog when you're having an awful time. I went through an awful time, and my cat just seemed to sense it, and she used to come right up and just lay beside me in bed, and she wasn't normally that way, but she knew something was wrong some years ago, and she just cuddled right up. And how much that means. And to have friends in our lives who are angels, who come around us and who care for us and who call us and let us know we're not alone. That brings us some peace in the midst of the chaos and the pain. And I've been with a lot of dying people. And death is usually a struggle. Grieving is hard too. It's hard work. That's why they call it grief work. But I've seen families receive some signs of continuing life. Something unusual, impossible happenings that bring peace and comfort. Like a robin appearing in the window in January when the person who was dying had a close connection with robins. Wow, how cool is that? I've heard from my sister-in-law who's a nurse that sometimes when she goes in to visit a patient, there's a presence there, an angel, a loved one, who knows? but a spirit. And I've heard from families of how after a loved one dies, sometimes they feel that presence with them. Sometimes they hear, sometimes they see a face, sometimes people see the face of Jesus. Spirit happens in ways that we can't even imagine. I've seen a woman who hadn't talked for 2 weeks as she was dying, at the moment of her death, sit up straight and say, "Mama," with a big smile on her face. I mean, we all jumped. That's pretty cool. And I've heard people receive messages from loved ones given to them by strangers with a specificity that's impossible to fake. I've heard my father-in-law, who I trust completely, tell about how he stopped reading tea leaves because the burden that came from having premonitions that always turned out to be true was too difficult. And I've been with people and their families who die with no special signs except the most important and powerful sign in the world, the sign of the love that they have shared together. And so whatever the circumstances of our deaths may be, we can all die in peace, knowing that the life and love we've got to share on this side of eternity is reward enough, and that any future adventures are a likely bonus. We think we know more than we do, and we think we should know more than we can, and we think that if we don't know something, it's not so and can't be. But friends, we're wrong, because God is all about surprises. God is about doing the impossible. God is about leading this world and you and I to a happy ending, to a pathway of peace. What we need to know and what we can know is that trusting in hope and love will lead us and our loved ones and this world to peace, in this life as the next, even when it's as impossible as old people getting pregnant.